Let's revisit the discussion on the situation in Gaza. The South African Lawyers for Justice says it's appalled by Israel's indiscriminate military aggression on civilians in the densely populated southern city of Rafah in Gaza. They say the murders of civilians are disguised as operations against Hamas, as Rafah is the last place of refuge for more than 1 million Palestinians. And these actions are a further breach of humanitarian law. Joining us now is Tasneem Fredericks from the South African Lawyers for Justice. Tasneem, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this afternoon. Why do you believe there's a lack of urgency with regards to this genocide that's happening in Gaza?
I think when the ruling was given on the 26th of January, there was a huge expectation from most of the world, just on a humanitarian level. I forget that it was lawyers expecting it or not lawyers expecting it. I think the ordinary person that was watching this genocide unfold from the palms of their hands, watching this live, from our phones, on Instagram, on various other streams of media, I think there was an expectation that the ICJ would rule in favor of a ceasefire. Now, those exact words were not used. Very severe, and just the way the killings and the massacre has unfolded, one would have thought that there would have been more urgent action. I mean, if you just look at the fact that South Africa initially brought the application on the 29th of December, and then it was only heard on the 12th and the 13th of January, and then it was only delivered on the 26th of January. So, I mean, if I was a judge, I would have been so concerned. I wouldn't have been sleeping to give the judgment so that there's some kind of rule of law that is given in the situation so that, this ethnic cleansing can stop. We don't see that kind of urgency around this issue. We don't see other countries coming forward. I mean, the application by South Africa, it was a good application. It's good that South Africa brought the application, but it was already 75 years too late. So we're dealing with a situation where, and I don't think, we want to think in this direction, but what if we wake up tomorrow and there are no longer Palestinians in Gaza? Just say, for an example, that is the kind of urgency that exists for the innocent men, women, and children in Gaza, and nobody seems to want to do anything around the region, internationally. I mean, everybody waits around South Africa. It's just so bizarre. It's just so bizarre, and there really is no time.
Of course, there certainly isn't any time, Tasneem. We seem to be losing you there a bit, the connection with you. So I do hope that we will be able to continue with this conversation. I mean, as you say, we're seeing a growing concern, even now from allies of Israel over the bombardment of Rafah. Do you think more needs to be done by the international community? And if so, what needs to be done immediately for us to be able to see anything close to a ceasefire?
Well, I mean, Israel has been unequivocal about the fact that they were not going to obey the court's ruling, and in fact, they haven't stopped. I mean, we see the hypocrisy by the Western countries, where they are busy watching the Super Bowl and Israel is going on a full-on defense. In terms of what more can be done by member states of the Geneva Convention, the convention itself places a duty on all member states to not only punish but also to prevent this ongoing genocide. So we would have hoped by now that we would have seen many more countries, expelling ambassadors, re-looking at the diplomatic relations with Israel, looking at other ways, sanctioning, boycotting, divesting, pulling out of Israel, asking Israeli companies to leave their countries. That kind of pressure that's going to hit the pockets of Israel, because appealing to them on a humanitarian level is obviously not something that will work.
We know that Western leaders are coming together to discuss this. There's an event happening tonight with the Minister, Lamola, which will be taking place at the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Do you believe that the South African campaign is now gaining some momentum globally?
Absolutely. I mean, South Africa has proven that it is the global leader of freedom. So we've also seen that there is a shift globally on how ordinary citizens are viewing Israel, and how there's this view that I mean, ordinary people are looking at their phones and they're just seeing, bits of children being blown to pieces. So where's the bits of Hamas that they say they're killing? So, that kind of when you're looking at those images, it's very hard to feel sorry for Israel. It's very hard to feel like they are actually defending themselves when you look at the scale of the massacre. If you look at the scale of damage to the infrastructure, to people's homes, to the fact that they're living in tents now, that they're close to starvation, that Israel is not allowing any aid to reach them, hospitals being shut down. It's just so perverse and so in your face at the same time that, there's no way that you can feel sorry for Israel. There's no way that you can actually legitimately, in good faith, say to yourself that Israel is in the right. It's just impossible. So,
all right, Tasneem, thank you so much. We seem to be losing you there a bit, but I think we get the gist of what the South African Lawyers for Justice are calling out for. Thank you for your time this afternoon.